So we are recording now, and again, good morning, everyone who is in the class. And I was just talking to you about the test that you will have like after the break today. The plan today is to just go quickly through the short stories you are assigned in this course, in this unit, Unit 2. And then we will have a break, and then you are going to have a test. The class test, it's worth 40 marks. It will take about maybe 1 hour and a half, and let's think it over. So those stories that you were assigned to read, we kind of went through some of them, and I received a request from one of your classmates concerning certain stories that we haven't like talked deeply, which is the snitch of kerosene and the death of, the dead men's path, hills like white elephants. There was a huge assignment for that. It's worth 16 marks. Only 2 submitted them. So it's really important to cover up all of these stories. And when I asked you to do the hills like white elephant in the format of study, there was a purpose, which is to how to analyze a story, how to draw the analysis for the characters and the themes and the writer's style, the figures of speech, and so on and so forth. It's important to do the thorough study for this, because the same skill you will be applying to the rest. That was a homework. I wish you do it, because if you do it, again, as I mentioned, if I needed some grades, I can look at these and take other grades for you to give you better marks. Okay, so for now, as I mentioned, some of you wanted to have a kind of quick summary or quick idea about those 3 short stories in particular. What will happen, I'm gonna run like a 4-minute video or less about each of those stories to get an idea. And then you will have a break, and then you will come prepared for the class test. Okay, do you have any questions so far? I wish you can just write in the chat box if you have any issues, or if you have any problems, or if you don't understand anything, because I noticed that when I give you a task and I explain the instruction so clearly, I still get some questions. So I'm not sure if you are with me or not, because you are behind the camera. So I wish you can tell me before I start playing the video. Do you have any questions? You can write in the chat box, or you can speak up. If you have issues, concerns, problems, difficulties, just let me know. You can send me a private message. Okay, thank you, Larine. I don't have any questions. Great. Jawad, do you have any questions? Okay, so I'm going now to play the video for you. It's the summary of Dead Men's Path. Just watch it, and I want you to take down notes, because after 1 hour or so, you will have your class test. Believe me, class test is really big test. It's worth 40 marks. Okay, let's have a look here.
The mission authorities, a Christian colonial and governing group, choose Michael Obi to be the headmaster of Vendome Central School. Vendome Central School is still old-fashioned and hasn't been updated, so the mission authorities thought that Obi's youth and energy could help the school. Obi is proud of his own secondary schooling and thinks it will help him do well as the headmaster of the school. Nancy, Obi's wife, is happy that he got a raise. She and Obi plan to modernize the school by planting gardens and making the grounds look nicer. Nancy and Obi make fun of the older teachers who don't share their progressive views as they get ready to lead the school in a new, modern way. They think these older teachers are not smart enough to be teachers and are not fit for the job. Nancy, on the other hand, dreams of being the school's queen and gets ready to lead by example. Obi and his wife took over the school in the end. They put an emphasis on good teaching and planted beautiful gardens on the school grounds. One night, though, Obi sees an old woman from the town walking through the school's grounds and gardens. When he follows her steps, he finds a path that goes from the school to the village that is rarely used. When Obi talks to another teacher about the path, the other teacher tells Obi how important it is to the locals and how there was a big uproar the last time the school tried to shut it down. Obi still decides to build a fence around the path so that no one else can use it. He does this because he is afraid that the government education officer will find signs that the path has been used during an upcoming check. A few days later, the village priest goes to see Obi to try to change his mind about the path. He tells Obi that the path is important to the culture and history of the village and that it is because of the path that their ancestors can visit them and new children can be born. Obi refuses to reopen the path, saying that it is his job to eradicate pagan beliefs and actions that go against the modern goals of the school. In fact, he wants his students to laugh at pagan beliefs. 2 days later, a woman dies while giving birth. The locals think this is because they closed the path. A seer says that heavy sacrifice will be needed to make the angry ancestors happy about the end of the road. The next morning, when Obi wakes up, he finds that his plants and most of the school grounds have been completely destroyed. On that day, the check is done by a white supervisor who goes to the school. He writes a very bad report about the school grounds and the tribal war situation that has developed between the school and the locals, mostly because of Obi's misguided zeal.
About the author. Chinua Achebe was born in Ajadi, Nigeria, on November 16, 1930. He was the fifth child of Isaiah Okafor Achebe, a Christian catechism teacher, and Janet Iliagbunam. He was born into a wealthy and educated family, and his parents gave him the name Albert in honor of Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert. Even though Nigeria was still a British colony and would be until 1960, Chinua Achebe's first language was Igbo. He didn't start learning English until he was about 8 years old. He learned the Igbo language and traditional stories as he grew up. This gave him a strong connection to Igbo culture, which he continued to enjoy even as he learned English and became fluent. Even though he did well in high school and got into the University College of Ibadan to study medicine, he ended up switching to a liberal arts program and studying history, religion, and English instead. Around that time, Adichie was angered by the rising number of nationalists and calls for independence, so he started going by his Igbo name Chinua, whose long-form Chinua Lumago means, "My spirit, come fight for me." In college, he also started publishing stories like Dead Men's Path, which looks at how the presence of colonial forces like the British Empire on African societies causes community changes and cultural tensions. Even though his earlier books aren't as well known as his 1958 classic, Things Fall Apart, many of the themes are the same and deal with colonialism, Christianity, and different cultures. As his writing career took off, he taught at schools in Nigeria and the United States. His last book came out in 1987, 3 years before he was paralyzed from the waist down in a car accident in Lagos. Achebe died in 2013 in Boston, Massachusetts.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it.
Okay, so again, the story of the Dead Man's Path is mainly about the combat between modernity and the traditions. Some other authors think it's the conflict between spiritual beliefs, religion, and the materialistic world. So it's important for you to, when you do character analysis or when you are writing about the theme of the story, you could figure it out. It's also important to have an idea about the author, where he comes from and the mentality he has. So he's a person who is in Nigeria, definitely suffered from colonialism. However, it's like it happens most of the time that when you are conquered by a superior, you just feel you are affiliated to that person, just like Gandhi. In the beginning of Gandhi, before he starts to combat the British colonization to India, in the beginning, he fell into following the rules. So it's important for you to know the background of the authors and how they think. Okay. Any questions about the short story? Do you have any question? Do you have any conflict, anything that you do not understand? Questions? I hope you took down some notes, writing about the main theme and what happens and the role of Nancy, Obi's wife, and Obi, the headmaster, the priest, what triggered the issue, what triggered the plot here. It's important to know the rising actions here. Okay. Any questions, Laureen, Jawad? Okay. All right. Now we'll move to another story, just for you to do the recap, to have it like in mind. So quickly, as a summary, we're going to have the hills like white elephant.
Couple who were at a train station in Spain. They're on their way about a traveling couple who were at a train station in Spain. They're on their way to Madrid and stop to get a couple of drinks at a bar. The woman notes how beautiful the hills in the distance are, how they are like the color of white elephants. The man doesn't seem to be interested and continues to drink. The couple are on their way to get a procedure done, and the man constantly asks the woman if she's okay with it. She assures him that she'll do it if he wants her to. But after a few more drinks, the woman gets upset at the man and tells him to stop talking about it. The man carries their luggage to the train stop, and when he returns to the bar, the woman has accepted that this procedure must be done. The procedure in question is an abortion. That's obvious. There are several hints and subtle references to that in the story. However, the focus of the story then changes to the character change in the woman. At first, she is hesitant about this, but later is accepting of it. Through subtle hints in the story, we know that the man and woman are not married. Their relationship is ambiguously defined as they seem to travel together quite a bit. The man is identified as an American and the woman is identified as a girl, which leaves her identityless. So, why are the hills like white elephants? The reference refers to a baby. The woman notes how beautiful the hills are while the man hardly even notices. Their attitudes towards the hills then reflects their attitude towards the unborn child. The woman sees the positive while the man sees the negative. Because abortion isn't the taboo subject it once was, a lot of the power is lost in this story, which is both alarming and sad.
This is Jules, VP of a ketchup company, about to.
Hello there! Welcome back.
So this is the a bit of more details of the story. So listen carefully to the dialogue, because you will have certain questions as excerpt where you need to analyze. And remember, when we have this question, you need to mention the setting, where, when, what happened, who is speaking to who, what is the significant to the plot of the story. So listen carefully and pay attention to important details here. Can you please confirm you can hear and everything is fine unless you speak up? You can tell me if everything is okay, you can hear very well? The videos are playing well? Any problems, anyone? Shall we proceed? Okay, perfect.
By Ernest Hemingway.
The hills across the valley of the Ebro were long and white. On this side there was no shade and no trees, and the station was between two lines of rails in the sun. Close against the side of the station there was the warm shadow of the building, and a curtain made of strings of bamboo beads hung across the open door into the bar to keep out flies. The American and the girl with him sat at a table in the shade outside the building. It was very hot, and the express from Barcelona would come in 40 minutes. It stopped at this junction for 2 minutes and went to Madrid.
What should we drink?
It's pretty hot. Let's drink beer. Oi, dos cervezas.
Big ones?
Yes, 2 big ones.
The woman brought 2 glasses of beer and 2 felt pads. She put the felt pads and the beer glasses on the table and looked at the man and the girl. The girl was looking off at the line of hills. They were white in the sun, and the country was brown and dry.
They look like white elephants.
I've never seen one.
No, you wouldn't have.
I might have. Just because you say I wouldn't have doesn't prove anything.
The girl looked at the bead curtain.
They've painted something on it. What does it say?
Anis del Toro. It's a drink.
Could we try it?
Sure.
The man called,
Listen.
through the curtain. The woman came out from the bar.
4 reals. We want 2 Anis del Toro.
With water?
Do you want it with water?
I don't know. Is it good with water?
It's all right.
You want them with water?
Yes, with water.
It tastes like licorice.
That's the way with everything.
Yes, everything tastes of licorice. Especially all the things you've waited so long for, like absinthe.
Oh, cut it out.
You started it. I was being amused. I was having a fine time.
Well, let's try and have a fine time.
All right. I was trying. I said the mountains looked like white elephants.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use any fancy editing software.
Wasn't that bright?
That was bright.
I wanted to try this new drink. That's all we do, isn't it? Look at things and try new drinks.
I guess so.
The girl looked across at the hills.
They're lovely hills. They don't really look like white elephants. I just meant the coloring of their skin through the trees.
Should we have another drink?
All right.
The beer's nice and cool.
It's lovely.
It's really an awfully simple operation, Jig. It's really not an operation at all. I know you wouldn't mind it, Jig. It's really not anything. It's just to let the air in.
The girl did not say anything.
I'll go with you, and I'll stay with you all the time. They just let the air in, and then it's all perfectly natural.
Then what will we do afterwards?
We'll be fine afterwards, just like we were before.
What makes you think so?
That's the only thing that bothers us. It's the only thing that's made us unhappy.
The girl looked at the bead curtain, put her hand out and took hold of 2 of the strings of beads.
And you think we'll be all right and be happy?
I know we will. You don't have to be afraid. I've known lots of people that have done it.
So have I. And afterwards they were all so happy.
Well, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I wouldn't have you do it if you didn't want to, but I know it's perfectly simple.
And you really want to?
I think it's the best thing to do, but I don't want you to do it if you don't really want to.
And if I do it, you'll be happy and things will be like they were and you'll love me?
I love you now. You know I love you.
I know. But if I do it, then it will be nice again if I say things are like white elephants and you'll like it.
I'll love it. I love it now, but I just can't think about it. You know how I get when I worry.
If I do it, you won't ever worry.
I won't worry about that because it's perfectly simple.
Then I'll do it. Because I don't care about me.
What do you mean?
I don't care about me.
Well, I care about you.
Oh, yes. But I don't care about me. And I'll do it, and then everything will be fine.
I don't want you to do it if you feel that way.
The girl stood up and walked to the end of the station. Across on the other side were fields of grain and trees along the banks of the Averroes. Far away, beyond the river, were mountains. The shadow of a cloud moved across the field of grain, and she saw the river through the trees.
And we could have all this. And we could have everything, and every day we make it more impossible.
What did you say?
I said we could have everything.
We can have everything.
No, we can't.
We can have the whole world.
No, we can't.
We can go everywhere.
No, we can't! It isn't ours anymore.
It's ours.
No, it isn't. And once they take it away, you never get it back.
But they haven't taken it away.
We'll wait and see.
Come on back in the shade. You mustn't feel that way.
I don't feel any way. I just know things.
I don't want you to do anything that you don't want to do.
Nor that isn't good for me, I know. Could we have another beer?
All right, but you've got to realize...
I realize. Can't we maybe stop talking?
They sat down at the table, and the girl looked across the hills on the dry side of the valley, and the man looked at her and at the table.
You've got to realize that I don't want you to do it if you don't want to. I'm perfectly willing to go through with it if that means anything to you.
Doesn't it mean anything to you? We could get along.
Of course it does, but I don't want anybody but you. I don't want anyone else. And I know it's perfectly simple.
Yes, you know it's perfectly simple.
It's all right for you to say that, but I do know it.
Would you do something for me now?
I'd do anything for you.
Would you please, 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 please stop talking?
He did not say anything, but looked at the bags against the wall of the station. There were labels on them from all the hotels where they had spent nights.
But I don't want you to. I don't care anything about it.
I'll scream.
Escúchame, el tren llega en 5 minutos.
What did she say?
That the train is coming in 5 minutes.
The girl smiled brightly at the woman to thank her.
I'd better take the bags over to the other side of the station.
She smiled at him.
All right, then come back and we'll finish the beer.
He picked up the 2 heavy bags and carried them around the station to the other tracks. He looked up the tracks but could not see the train. Coming back, he walked through the bar room where people waiting for the train were drinking. He drank an anise at the bar and looked at the people. They were all waiting reasonably for the train. He went out through the bead curtain. She was sitting at the table and smiled at him.
Do you feel better?
I feel fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I feel fine.
So this was the exact story in audio format for The Hills Like White Elephants, written by Ernest Hemingway. What you need to focus on is the ambiguity of the discussion, and you can think of the different interpretations to the relation between the man and the woman. We are not 100% sure what they are talking about, what kind of operation. Any of those are left for the reader to decide. However, we will be focusing again on how, in a short story, the author has the skill to leave an impact on you. How many of you would sympathize with the woman or the girl in the story? How many of you? Just raise your hand. You can use the reactions below here, like if you do like this, meaning you sympathize with the girl. Let me see the effect of the story on you. Can you give me a thumb up? Or even if you don't, you can just write down. This is a quick exercise for you to figure out the effect or the impact that the author can leave on you. So we had a look at the dead man path, and we looked at the white elephants now. Now it's time for you to have a look at the third story that I got from you. You don't know exactly what is it about, so we'll have a quick look at the stench of kerosene. And this, of course, is for an Indian writer. It's important for you to figure out the different cultures we are dealing with.
Stench of Kerosene. It is written by Amrita Preetham. She is an Indian writer, novelist. Before going to know about the story, let us have a brief look about the writer Amrita Preetham. She was born on 13th August 1919, died on 31st October 2005. She is a famous Indian novelist, essayist and poet. She wrote in Punjabi and Hindi languages. She was born in Pakistan. She received Gnanprit Award, Sahitya Akademi Award and Punjab Ratan Award. Let us see about the story. It is the story of suffering and injustice in rural areas. The characters in the story are main characters. They are Guleri, Manak and Manak's mother. Guleri is the wife of Manak. Readers feel pity about Guleri. Those who read this book, they feel pity of Guleri, wife of Manak. Main elements are three elements. One is superstition, second one is superiority, third one is ancient traditions. Guleri and Manak are loving couples. Manak plays flute. Guleri likes it. Flute becomes symbol of joy in their life. Guleri cannot give birth to a child. They have been married 7 years. Guleri went to her mom during harvest season. When Guleri went to her parents' home, Manek's mother forced her son to marry another woman. Manek married another woman. Guleri felt very sad and poured kerosene over her body and lit fire to herself. She is dead. After hearing the news, Manek felt very sad. After Guleri's death, Manek lives like a dead man. There is no smile in his eyes and there is no charm in his face. He lives with blank face. Guleri failed to give Manek's family a son, having waited for 7 years. Second wife gave birth to a son. Whenever she brings her son to Manek, he gets foul smell, that is stench of kerosene. So he used to say, "Take him away." Repeatedly, he used the same phrase, "Take him away." Kerosene symbolizes the intense sorrow and disaster caused to Guleri. In that way, writer explains the situation of a woman in rural areas and also explains the superstition, ancestral traditions, and superstitious beliefs and superiority leads to the death of Guleri. Hope all of you.
Okay, so the guy beautifully summarized the story in points and also gave you the coding of the title of the story and how the irony, I want you please to focus on the irony. The ironical side here is that this is the joy of the family, the little boy, the little baby, and now it became a symbol of a foul smell or a bad smell. So the irony here is because the happy thing could be a cause of disaster. The lesson that you learn from such a story is to not to hurt others' feelings because you will live with the guilt. So who is guilty here? Is the mother-in-law, is Malik's mother or Manik's mother or Manik himself? Definitely when you, I want you to figure out those things because you will have them in the test like in the couple minutes or so. So do you have any questions before I give you break to meditate over the stories? Again, I wish you complete this activity because it will help you so much, this one. It will help you so much to answer your question, your exam today in a beautiful way, and you get high marks. Today's exam is worth 40 marks. So if you could think out of these, only one student submitted this because this is really helpful for you to grasp the ideas and the most important things that you will be asked in the exam. Any questions so far, anyone? Yes, sir, do you have a question? Lareen, Jawad, any questions? Okay, no problems. Great. Hopefully you can do well in your exam. I'm going to give you the exam at 11:15. 11:15. Do you prefer to have a longer lunch time or break time? Anyone? Do you prefer to start at 11:30? Please. Who would say 11:30? Who would say 11:15? You write down, please, in the chat box what time you prefer. Your test will roughly take 1 hour and a half, or let's say 2 hours. 11:15 is fine. $11:30 or 11:15. Any response? Okay, so it will be 11:30. You can take a break now or prepare for the test, whatever thing you want to do. Come back at 11:30. You will have your test. It's important. It's 40 marks. Okay? All right. Okay, class, can you please confirm you can see the test on Google Classroom? You can just write yes in the chat box. Okay, perfect. So let me just give you general remarks. So this is your test. The maximum amount is to finish it by the end of today's class. There is no point, no way for you to do it tomorrow or afternoon. It must be done today. It's the class test. It's really important test. It's worth 40 marks. So remember, you need to answer all the questions and never go online to get any answers. And you need to use your own words for the open-ended questions. And please make sure that in the multiple choice questions, let me share it with you one more time here. So here you will be, these are the definitions of the terminology of the literary terminology of the short story. You need to write here the letter that represents the definition, which is, of course, this is definitions only. And here the multiple choice, you will be choosing only one. You need to highlight only one answer, either underline or highlighted. Similar here, and this one is again for the yes or no. You will write it here, true or false. And this is the questions where you need to figure out what is in the stories here mentioned. And that's it. Let me stop sharing. And of course, I am sure you're going to do well. If you have any questions, please let me know in the chat box. Okay? Any questions so far?